We begin tonight with a second Nebraskan suing McDonald's. Federal health officials say the fast food giant is connected to a deadly outbreak of E. coli in its quarter pounders.
Our Bella Caracta joins us with the details of the lawsuit and why the plaintiff's lawyer says the company needs to be held accountable.
Brian Taylor, Sarah Johnson is a 38-year-old woman from Cass County. She filed this federal lawsuit in Nebraska Friday. Johnson claims she bought a quarter pounder last month at McDonald's in Waverly. About 5 days later, she says she started having stomach pain and diarrhea. By the 8th day, she went to the emergency department. According to the complaint, her stool tested positive for E. coli, and she was contacted by her local health department. Her attorney tells 6 News McDonald's needs to be held responsible.
A hamburger is a product, just like an automobile is a product. This quarter pounder was a product. It had a defective product or defective component part, the onions, but ultimately McDonald's is responsible for, to its consumers.
At least 75 people are confirmed cases of this E. coli outbreak, which officials believe stems from the onions in the quarter pounder. 11 of those cases so far are in Nebraska. On your side in the studio, Bella Caracta, 6 News.
Well, thank you, Bella, for that report. Well, it is important to note NBC News reports no E. coli was detected in samples of beef patties used in the quarter pounders. That's according to a McDonald's spokesperson citing tests by the Colorado Agricultural Department.